Week 0 of the 2024 college football season just came to an end, which means Week 1 is right around the corner. So let's go ahead and take a look at the biggest games, news, and matchups headed into Week 1. The first games this week kick off this Thursday, August 29th, and there aren't a ton of good games on this night, but a decent one is North Carolina at Minnesota. While this isn't like a great game, like I said, there aren't a ton of good games on this night. This is, I believe, the only Power 4 matchup, so it's a decent one, and it's college football, man, so how can you not like it? Right now, according to FanDuel Sportsbook, North Carolina is currently a 1.5 point favorite, and the over-under for this is set at 50.5. North Carolina lost a lot from last season, primarily quarterback Drake May, so they might have a tough time this year. Minnesota not expected to do crazy things this year either, especially in a tough conference like the Big Ten, but nonetheless, it should be a fun matchup this Thursday night. There's really nothing crazy later on this Thursday. North Dakota State at Colorado could be a fun one. This would be hilarious if the Bison could pull off the upset and shock Dion. Colorado is a 9.5 point favorite with the over-under set at 58.5. I don't think this will be that good of a game. Colorado should be able to handle business. This would just be hilarious if North Dakota State does the unthinkable. Then there are 6 games set for Friday night. Again, nothing crazy. TCU and Stanford do play, which is another Power 4 matchup. Stanford now in the ACC, which still makes no sense to me. They're literally on the West Coast on the Pacific Ocean, but they're in the Atlantic Coastal Conference. But whatever. ACC Big 12 matchup here between Stanford and TCU. At Stanford, TCU opens up as a 9.5 point favorite with the over-under set at 60.5. Again, not really a good game, just the 2 Power 4 matchups we have on Thursday and Friday. But then actually getting into Saturday, we have some really fun games to watch here. The first game starting at noon are Clemson at Georgia and Penn State at West Virginia. This is the 66th meeting between Georgia and Clemson. Georgia holds the all-time series record 43-18, and they do have 4 ties as well. Georgia opens up as 13.5 point favorites with the over-under set at 49.5. This is obviously a big game, especially for the first week, but I could definitely see Georgia running away with this one and definitely covering that spread and winning by at least 14 points. Like I just mentioned, the next biggest game in the noon slate is Penn State at West Virginia. This is the second game in the home-and-home series between Penn State and West Virginia. The last game was in Happy Valley. Penn State kind of blew them out, but this year the game is in Morgantown, and I think it could be a lot different. Penn State leads this all-time series 49-9-2, which makes this the 61st meeting between the two schools, and Penn State opens up as an 8.5 point favorite with the spread being at 51.5. And like I just mentioned, I think this year's game between these two teams will be a lot different than last year. Last year was at Happy Valley. That was just a really tough environment for West Virginia. Whereas this year it's in Morgantown. West Virginia, similar to Penn State, has a really hostile crowd as well. And while Penn State might be better than West Virginia on paper, West Virginia is still a solid team, and like I said, the game is at their home field. It's the first week. We never know what can happen to week 1. Like we just saw in Ireland, Georgia Tech beat Florida State, so anything can happen in week 1. I think this could be a great game and one of the best games of the week in terms of how close it is, and I wouldn't be surprised if West Virginia does pull off the upset. So this should be a great game as well. Moving along throughout the slate of games on Saturday, the next biggest game we got comes at 3:30 when Miami and Florida play. This is the 57th all-time meeting between the schools, and Miami leads the series right now 29-27. Miami does open up as a slight 2.5 point favorite, and the spread is at 54.5. Neither of these teams have really been great the past few years, especially Miami last year, where they could have needed it but decided to run it and fumbled against Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech actually won the game. Like I said, neither of these teams have really been great in recent memory, but they are historic programs. This is a really big rivalry game. It's at the Swamp, which is always a great environment. It'll be rocking for the first game of the season, so I think this will be a really fun game to watch despite the outcome. Then to wrap up the night on Saturday, Notre Dame travels to College Station to take on Texas A&M. This is only the 6th meeting between the two schools, and Notre Dame leads the series 3-2. Texas A&M actually opens up as a 2.5 point favorite here, which is a little surprising to me. I thought Notre Dame would have been the favorite for sure, and the over-under is set at 46.5. Kind of similar to Miami and Florida, Texas A&M and Notre Dame are huge names in college football, but they haven't done a ton in recent years. Notre Dame has made the college football playoff a few times, but they've gotten absolutely cooked, and Texas A&M hasn't won a national championship since 1939. So they don't have much to show for in terms of trophies recently, but again, 2 big name programs, first week of the season at Texas A&M at night, college game day will be there. This should be a great game to watch as well. And another thing to note about this week's schedule here is, while they might not be great games, Pac-12 After Dark is still here. Well, I guess it's technically Big 10 and Big 12 After Dark now, but the late night college football games are still here. Wyoming at Arizona State kicks off at 10:30, and Webster State at Washington kicks off at 11. So for those of us that like to stay up till 2 in the morning watching college football because we have nothing better to do, that has not gone away with all the conference realignment. There are actually games on Sunday and Monday this week as well because the NFL hasn't started yet. And on Sunday, we get USC and LSU playing in Vegas. LSU opens up as a 4.5-point favorite with the over-under set at 63.5. Obviously, LSU has to replace Heisman winner Jaden Daniels and star wide receiver Malik Neighbors, and USC has to replace first overall pick to the NFL Caleb Williams. But despite that, LSU is ranked 13th, USC is ranked 23rd, and on a Sunday night with nothing else to do, this should be a fun one to watch. And like I said, there's a game on Monday as well. Even if Florida State beat Georgia Tech, it still wouldn't have been a big game, and the fact that Florida State lost just makes it even more funny because that is an ACC loss, so it's going to make it even harder for them to get into the college football playoff now. Their season isn't totally over. With the playoff being 12 teams, they still have a shot, but it's definitely going to be a lot harder after losing their opener in Ireland. And that's everything we're covering in today's video. So if you made it to the end, thank you so much for tuning in and watching the video. And if you're a real one, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps this content get out to more people who love college football, and it's going to keep you updated with all the content we got coming out here the rest of the season. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to watch the video. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.